Time has a strange way of sharpening guilt. For Richard Carter, 62 years old and newly retired, time was no longer measured by deadlines or construction blueprints. It ticked slower now, louder, more accusing. He had built towers and overpasses in his prime, structures that reached into the sky, but the bridge that mattered most, the one leading home, was the one he had burned with his own trembling hands. And it all began with a smile. It was a Tuesday evening gala, fundraising for some medical charity, the kind of place where old money met newer ambition. Richard didn't want to go, he never did, but someone from the old firm had sent an invite. He thought it might be a chance to feel important again. He wore a suit that no longer fit the way it used to, hair freshly combed, shoes polished, but his eyes tired. That's when he saw her. Amanda. She moved through the room like someone who knew all eyes belonged to her. Early 30s, long golden hair that shimmered under the chandelier lights. Her green dress was tailored to perfection. So was her smile. And for reasons Richard never truly understood, maybe loneliness, maybe vanity, she chose to sit beside him.
You don't look like you belong here. Everyone else feels old.
Richard chuckled, trying not to feel ridiculous.
I'm Amanda.
That night, something cracked open inside him. A part of him he thought had died, desire, relevance, risk, stirred again. He should have walked away, should have gone home to the woman who had stood beside him for 30 years. But instead, he went deeper. The affair was not short, nor was it subtle. Within 4 months, Richard had confessed. His wife didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply stared at him as though she no longer recognized the man she had built a life with. His older son shouted,
"She's younger than me, Dad. Do you even hear yourself?"
The younger one just walked out, never said a word. Richard didn't chase after them. He told himself they would come around. He told himself Amanda was worth it. Amanda brought with her a whirlwind of color and taste. She liked the finer things. She wanted more of them. Richard gave her everything. A penthouse condo with a view of the city, a convertible she'd only drive once, trips to Italy, Paris, Tokyo. He was her king, and she made him feel young. She'd giggle and call him my silver fox. She'd wrap her arms around him in public, flaunting their age gap like it was a trophy.
You're the only man who ever really saw me. I love how safe I feel with you.
He held on to those words like gospel, because when he looked in the mirror, all he saw were the lines, the gray, the man who had betrayed a loyal wife and 2 sons for a chance to feel wanted again. But when Amanda smiled, he believed again. And yet, there were moments, brief, sharp, where Richard would wake in the middle of the night and stare into the dark. He'd remember his wife's hands as she packed the last of her things. He'd hear his son's voice, furious and shaking, call him a coward. He'd feel the ghost of a dinner table where no one sat across from him anymore. But he would silence the memories. He'd reach for Amanda, run his hand through her golden hair and say to himself,
"This is worth it."
He wanted it to be worth it. He needed it to be. Because otherwise, he had thrown away everything good in his life for nothing.
For a time, Richard lived in what felt like a second youth. Luxury wrapped itself around him. Silk sheets, rooftop dinners, clinking champagne glasses beside an infinity pool. And Amanda, always Amanda. Laughter in her throat, heels clicking across the marble floors, a new dress every week and a new demand every day. They traveled. Paris in the spring, Dubai in the fall. She posted pictures, filtered, airbrushed, cropped to perfection. She tagged him sometimes, but never as her husband, only as R, an anonymous, older shadow behind her curated youth. Still, Richard clung to it all. She touched his hand. She smiled at him. She said the words.
You make me feel safe, Richard. No one else ever gave me this kind of life.
He nodded, kissed her forehead, wrote the checks. If there were questions lurking in his mind, he buried them under leather seats and weekend getaways. But cracks. They begin small, hairline fractures in marble, barely visible, until one day, the whole structure falls. Richard began noticing little things. Her phone always clutched tightly to her chest when he walked into the room. The way she'd excuse herself during dinner, lingering in the hallway, whispering. The laughter, quiet but sharp, echoing from the bathroom while she scrolled. He asked once, gently, carefully.
"Everything okay? You seem distracted lately."
I have friends, Richard. I'm not your prisoner.
He nodded, a
apologetic. Of course, she was young, social, beautiful. He should be grateful, he told himself, that she still came home to him. Then came the cold. Not in weather, but in her voice, in her eyes. She stopped reaching for him at night. She stopped asking about his day. Even her I love yous began to vanish, not all at once, but slowly, like a flame starving for air. Richard stood in their kitchen one afternoon, preparing her favorite tea, jasmine and honey. He carried it to her with a little smile. She looked up from her phone and said nothing. Didn't thank him, didn't sip it, just left it there to grow cold. It was such a small thing, but it landed like a stone in his chest. He walked out onto their balcony, gripping the edge with trembling hands. Below, the city pulsed with light and movement. But up here, where Amanda no longer met his gaze, where laughter had been replaced with locked doors, Richard had never felt more alone. One evening, Amanda was curled up on the couch, giggling at her phone. Richard stepped into the room.
What's so funny?
Just a friend.
A friend I know.
Stop acting like a jealous old man. You don't need to know everyone I talk to.
And there it was, the first open cut. Jealous old man. 3 words that should have just stung, but to Richard, they shattered something sacred. He'd heard those words before, whispered in business meetings by younger associates, laughed at behind his back at family reunions, thrown at him by his own reflection, but never from Amanda. Never from the woman he gave everything for. He started to wonder, what had she truly seen in him? Was it ever love or just the comfort of power? Was he the man she desired or merely the man who could afford her? He didn't ask, he didn't accuse, he didn't rage, because deep down, he feared the answer. That night, Richard lay awake, the side of the bed cold where Amanda used to sleep. He stared at the ceiling for hours. He didn't notice when the clock struck 2 or 3 or 4. All he could hear was the silence, the distance, the ticking of a love running out of time.
Sometimes a man doesn't realize he's falling until the ground gives way. And for Richard, the ground was already gone. Every man has a moment when the illusions he built come crashing down. For Richard Carter, it came on a Wednesday night, just past 9. He wasn't supposed to be home. Amanda had assumed he would be at a dinner meeting with the condo board. But the meeting ended early, and Richard, lonely, restless, decided to surprise her. He moved quietly through the darkened penthouse. The lights in the bedroom glowed faintly. Laughter spilled into the hallway, one voice female, warm and familiar. The other, male, confident, young. He opened the door, and the world he had destroyed everything to build collapsed. Amanda, in lingerie he'd never seen, perched atop silk sheets he'd bought, in his bed with a man who couldn't have been older than 30.
Amanda, what is this?
It's exactly what it looks like, Richard.
Relax, old man. You weren't using her anyway.
The words sliced deeper than any blade. Richard took a step forward, his voice cracked between disbelief and desperation.
I gave you everything. I left my family.
You left your family because you were bored. Don't act like some tragic hero. You wanted me because I was young and beautiful. Well, guess what? So do other men.
The shame, the humiliation, the fury, it all snapped. Richard lunged at the younger man, years of repressed anger behind the movement. But age is merciless. With a single motion, the man spun Richard around and slammed him onto the floor.
Oh my God, look at you. You can't even stand up straight, and you thought you could fight?
Richard lay there, on the cold hardwood floor of his own bedroom, panting, heart pounding in his chest like a war drum. His pride lay broken beside him.
You're not a man anymore, Richard. You're just pathetic.
And then she laughed, a laugh sharper than any insult. Not loud, not cruel. Worse, it was effortless, as if he was nothing more than a bad joke she'd already moved past. Richard didn't speak. He didn't scream or plead. He stood slowly, shakily, his body sore, his breath ragged. He looked at Amanda one last time, hair cascading down her shoulders like golden fire, eyes smug with victory. And then he left. That night, Richard sat in the dark, alone in the guest room. His reflection in the glass looked like a ghost. He didn't cry, he didn't sleep. He just sat there, the same words echoing in his mind over and over again.
She humiliated me.
And it wasn't just infidelity, it was the way she spoke to him, the way he was tossed aside like old furniture, the way her lover laughed, the way Amanda didn't even try to hide it. He thought about the wife he had betrayed, the sons who no longer returned his calls. He remembered the look on their faces when he walked out years ago, and for the first time, he understood it. He had become the fool. But somewhere between rage and despair, Richard made a decision. He would not win her back. He would not apologize. He would not beg. No, he would take something from her, something she worshipped, something she flaunted, something she used to trap him and betray him. Her pride, her beauty, her hair. Richard didn't sleep that night. He simply waited for the perfect moment.
The penthouse had never felt so quiet. It had been weeks since that night, since Amanda's laughter echoed through the halls with someone else's voice wrapped around it. Richard hadn't spoken to her since. She hadn't apologized. She hadn't even called. She simply left. But now she was back. She came alone, unannounced, just after 4 p.m., back to collect the last of her things. Clothes, jewelry, perfume bottles, remnants of a life she'd used to decorate her illusion. Amanda assumed Richard wouldn't be home, assumed he was too broken, too cowardly to confront her. She was wrong.
What are you doing with that?
Richard stood at the end of the hallway, holding the electric clippers in his hand like a blade of judgment. His eyes were still. No rage, no pleading, just quiet resolve.
You used me. You mocked me. You tore apart everything I had left in this world, and you did it with a smile, with that golden crown on your head like you were untouchable.
Are you threatening me? That's Rich. You're not going to touch me. You don't have the spine.
She tried to walk past him, but Richard didn't move. His body blocked the doorway. His shadow stretched across the floor like a closing gate.
Get out of my way, Richard.
Instead, he pulled a chair into the center of the living room, gestured toward it.
Sit down.
Excuse me?
You sat in this home like a queen. You burned my life to the ground. And now you're going to sit, and you're going to lose the one thing you ever truly valued, your image.
Amanda's smile faltered. She glanced behind her. No escape. She opened her mouth to scream, but Richard stepped forward and calmly placed his hand on her shoulder. And for the first time, she felt something she never expected to feel around him. Fear.
You're crazy. Richard, please, don't do this. Don't touch my hair.
But Richard said nothing. The clippers met her scalp.
No, stop. Richard, please.
He didn't stop. Not when her golden waves began to fall in clumps around her feet. Not when she thrashed in the chair, sobbing. Not when she begged. Because he wasn't doing this for revenge. He was doing this for truth. To strip away the mask. To take back the dignity she stole with every lie, every laugh, every betrayal. When he was done, Amanda sat trembling, hairless, hysterical. She reached for the mirror and recoiled.
My hair. You ruined me.
No, I didn't ruin you. You did that all on your own. I just made it visible.
He left the room, left her there, in the ruins of her vanity. He didn't call the police, didn't press charges, didn't say another word. Because what was left to say? Weeks later, the media would hear whispers. A woman spotted leaving a luxury building in tears, head wrapped in a scarf. Rumors of scandal, betrayal, madness. But Richard didn't care. He sat alone again now, in silence, in stillness, not victorious, not vindicated, just empty. Some betrayals are too deep for justice. Some wounds too old for healing. He gave up everything for her. And in the end, He took from her the one thing she worshipped more than love, herself. But even as he stared out the window of that penthouse, watching the sky fade into night, he knew one truth would follow him to the grave. The man who betrays and the man who is betrayed are sometimes the same man, and both end up alone.